English by the Nature Method by Arthur M. Jensen. Brought to you by Ayan Academy.
Chapter 19. The Dinner. Daisy's husband had been in his bedroom to dress, but now he had come down from the first floor. When they had all come into the dining room, Daisy's husband said, "Please sit down at the table. Will you sit down there, Mrs. Smith? And will you sit down on that chair next to my wife, Mrs. Hudson?" When they had all sat down at the table, they began to eat. First they had soup made from many vegetables. "What a good soup," Mrs. Hudson said. "How good it tastes." "Daisy, I am glad that it tastes good. Do you want another plate of soup?" "No, thank you. I can eat no more." Daisy's husband: "Please give me another plate of soup. I am very hungry. I had so much work to do today that I had no time for lunch, so now I am so hungry that 2 plates of soup are not too much for me." Where had Daisy's husband been? He had been in his bedroom on the first floor to dress. Did he come down to the guests? Yes, he came down from the first floor when he had dressed. What did the guests do when they came into the dining room? They sat down at the table. Who asked them to sit down? Daisy's husband asked them to sit down. What did they have first? First they had soup. What is soup made from? It is made from vegetables, and sometimes it is also made from meat, but the meat is not in the soup when you get it for dinner. It has been taken out again. It was only put in to give the soup a good taste. Did the soup taste good? Yes. Mrs. Hudson said that it tasted very good. Why was Daisy's husband so hungry? Because he had had so much work to do that he had had no time for lunch. He was so hungry that he ate 2 plates of soup. Then the maid came in with a large dish. On the dish was beef. Daisy's husband cut the beef with a big knife and then put a piece on each plate. Daisy put potatoes and vegetables on the plates and gave 1 plate to each of the guests. "Will you give me the salt, please?" said Mrs. Hudson to Mrs. Smith. "I like salt both in the soup and with the meat." With the beef, they had wine. Daisy's husband poured wine into the glasses from a big bottle, and when he had tasted it, he said, "Oh, it would make a new and better man of me to have such a glass of wine every day. Water is good to drink for people who are thirsty, but wine is better." Then they had ice cream, and when they had gone into the sitting room, a cup of coffee was ready there for each of the guests. Who came into the dining room with the dishes? The maid came into the dining room with the dishes. Is there a maid in every home? No. It is only people with big houses where there is much work to do who have maids. Who cut the beef? Daisy's husband cut the beef. What do people use knives for? A knife is used to cut the food into pieces before it is put into the mouth. Do they use knives to put the food into their mouths? No, they use forks. A fork is used to put the food into the mouth. Do people also use forks when they eat soup? No. Then they use spoons. A spoon is used for soup. Spoons are also used to put sugar in tea or coffee, but they are smaller than the spoons which are used for soup. They are called teaspoons. What do people drink when they are thirsty? They drink water. but sometimes, for instance, at parties, they drink wine. Who took the bottle and poured wine into the glasses? Daisy's husband took the bottle and poured the wine into the glasses. What did the guests have after the beef? They had ice cream. What did they have in the sitting room? They had a cup of coffee. After the coffee, the guests had a good, long talk together. Mrs. Smith talked to Daisy about her 3 children, and Daisy's husband had a good talk with Mrs. Hudson about his work. Later in the evening, they had birthday chocolate. "Oh, I have eaten so much for dinner," Daisy's husband said. "Must I have chocolate too?" Daisy: "It is my birthday, and you must have chocolate too." When it was almost 11 o'clock, Mrs. Smith said, "How late it is! Now I must go home. It has been a very pleasant evening, Daisy. It was so pleasant to be together again. Yes, I was glad to see you again, too." What did the guests do after the coffee? After the coffee, the guests had a long talk together. What did Mrs. Smith talk to Daisy about? She talked to Daisy about her own children. Did the guests have a pleasant evening at Daisy's home? Yes, they had a very pleasant evening, and Mrs. Smith told Daisy that it had been so good to see her.